Assalamu alaikum and hello. In this video we're going to learn how to write a newspaper article summary. I'm using the word article in a loose sense to include news reports, feature articles, columns, editorials, etc. The first step is to survey the article in 2 minutes, no matter what the length of the article. And then take about a minute to write a one-sentence survey summary that basically captures what this article is about. So to demonstrate the method, we're going to use this article published in Dawn on 15 September 2019 titled Health, Tuberculosis is Asia's Silent Killer. It would not at all be a bad idea to pull it up on the internet, either now or later, using the URL given on the right-hand side. But before we start the summary writing project, it would be very helpful to number the paragraphs on the right-hand side on paper, or if you're using the digital version of the article, using some sort of markup. So this particular article happens to have 9 paragraphs, so we're going to number them 1 through 9. So let's get back to step number 1, which is to survey the article. There are 4 things we do in surveying. We read the article title, we read anything bold or highlighted. In this case, it happens to be these pictures and something else that you can see in the article itself. Step number 3 is to read the first or opening paragraph entirely. And then step number 4 is to read the last paragraph. Based on these 4 things, we write a one-sentence survey-based summary, which can take many different wordings. Mine happens to be tuberculosis is killing a large number of people worldwide. The next step is to locate the central idea in the keynote paragraph of the piece. The central idea is located usually in the first or the second or the last paragraph of an average length article. By average, we mean an article of about 8 to 12 paragraphs. As you can see, in this case, the topic sentence or the central idea sentence is the last sentence of the first paragraph. I'd like to point out that usually the central idea is located at one point or another in the first or the second or the last paragraph. But sometimes it is dispersed over or distributed over 2 or 3 sentences. In those cases, you have to assemble it and then put it together. Once you have locked in the keynote paragraph, that is, identified the central idea in the first or the second or the last paragraph, the next 2 steps, that is steps 3 and 4, go hand in hand. So in step 3, what you ensure is that you read the opening and closing sentences of all the paragraphs up until the last paragraph. Let me repeat. After the keynote paragraph, you only read the opening and the closing sentences of the paragraphs that follow. And along with that, you glance at the nouns, that is the names, ideas, things, and verbs. Do not read the middle sentences in the paragraphs. Yes, you are going to miss out on a lot of details in doing so, and it will take some practice, but you'll get the hang of how to go about capturing what's going on by focusing on the opening and the closing of paragraphs and glancing at nouns and verbs. Practice, practice, and some more practice. The next step is to use steps 3 and 4 and then note and number the paragraph points. And in doing so, you have to learn to ignore all details. Now, what is the paragraph point? Well, the paragraph point is the point of the paragraph. That is, the central point made in the paragraph, the idea that joins or connects all the things that are being said in the different sentences in the paragraph. I'm hoping that you have pulled up the article, or if not, you're able to see the screen where it reads, in India alone, TB kills over 400,000 people every year, and it goes on. This is the second paragraph. The point of this paragraph is that TB is widespread and deadly all over Southeast Asia. If we go back to the second paragraph, we note that it has 3 or 4 sentences. The first sentence is about how rampant TB is in India. The second sentence is about Indonesia and the Philippines. The third sentence is about other countries like Bangladesh, China, etc. And the fourth sentence is about how the disease is mutating. So most of these sentences, that is the first 3 sentences, are dealing with how widespread tuberculosis is in Southeast Asia. The last sentence is introducing another subtopic which we are going to ignore for the moment. So once again, the paragraph point of the second paragraph is that tuberculosis or TB is widespread and deadly all over Southeast Asia. Paragraph 3 deals with the causes of the spread of TB, starting with the fact that the bacteria that cause TB have been evolving, which makes the treatment challenging. But in addition to that, expensive and inaccessible medicines and the spread of HIV and diabetes, all of these things make the spread of TB rampant. In short, if we look at all the sentences, we come to the conclusion that the point of this paragraph, the idea that connects or joins all the thoughts or ideas presented all over this paragraph, is that it is presenting the reasons for the spread of tuberculosis. Paragraph 4, that begins, public health ministries in Asia are acutely aware of the threat posed by TB, is discussing the effects of the spread of tuberculosis. So how are different institutions and countries responding to the spread of tuberculosis? It makes use of quotations and cites individuals who matter, the movers and shakers in these various world bodies and countries, who have spelled out what needs to be done to control TB. In short, if we look at all the sentences in paragraph 4, we can say that the paragraph point of this paragraph is the response of health ministries in Asia. Paragraph 5 returns to the reasons for the spread of tuberculosis. So it mentions a particular treatment known as TB DOTS, directly observed treatments, and why they are not working, the reasons why they're not working. Most sentences are dealing with the reasons why this particular treatment does not work. It mentions the inaccessibility of the centers where patients are supposed to get their medicines. It mentions the lack of resources. It mentions the shortage of anti-TB medications. It mentions that people fail to complete the regimen due to their own limitations, which leads to relapses and then furthers the complications. So, in short, the point of the paragraph is the difficulties in treating tuberculosis, or in other words, further reasons why TB is spreading. Paragraph 6 returns to another kind of outcome that the spread of TB is having. That is counter solutions, that is better improved treatments for tuberculosis. And the sentences in this paragraph are dealing with other ways and proposals that people have presented to treat TB. In short, we can say that this paragraph deals with alternatives to TB dots, directly observed treatments. Paragraph 7 returns to even further deeper causes, the social causes, the underlying factors that can explain why TB continues to grow. And so scholars, it mentions, point out to overcrowding, lack of ventilation, poor food and hygiene, and so forth. These are the social determinants or causes, the social causes of TB, and we can consider them to be the paragraph point for this particular paragraph. Remember, in order to capture the paragraph point, you have to look at all the sentences and then distill an idea that would connect most, if not all, the sentences in that paragraph. The 8th paragraph deals with what needs to be done at a deeper level. So the author mentions the need for political leadership, the need for mobilizing new technologies, the need for international collaboration, etc. So in a way, we can consider it a series of effects produced by or triggered by or compelled by the spread of TB. One broad way to characterize what's being said in this paragraph is to say that this paragraph is talking about the need for political will to deal with TB. That brings us to the last paragraph of the entire article, which is the 9th paragraph. And this is the 6th step. We read the entire last paragraph. Remember, we're not reading entire paragraphs in the middle. We are reading just the opening and the closing and glancing at nouns and verbs. But when it comes to the conclusion, we have to read it entirely. So here is the last paragraph. Just 2 sentences. We read the last paragraph carefully, and then, as with other paragraphs, we note the point of the paragraph. Step number 7. This step will take some gray matter, meaning intelligence. You have to group up paragraph points into causes, effects, signs, solutions, aspects, factors, etc. In other words, you have to group them up according to categories. When we go back to the article, what do we see? We see that the 2nd paragraph deals with a sign or a manifestation of the spread of TB. Paragraphs 3, 5, and 7 deal with causes, and paragraphs 4, 6, and 8 in some way, in some broad way, are effects or outcomes of TB. So if we put all of it together in step 7, we write the thesis, then we write the sign of crisis, then we write the causes of the crisis, and then we write the effects of the crisis. The thesis, remember, don't forget, is that TB should rank as the public health crisis of our time. Now, all you need to do is to look at these notes as you have organized them in step number 7, and don't go back to the article. Make use of these notes and put them together into 1 or 2 paragraphs. That is all you need to do.